Alrighty. Yeah, like guys, I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but another great defense we're going against, man. Houston and Coach D'Amico Ryan's over there. I feel like he has those guys rolling. Their defense is playing really well. They're playing at a high level. Offenses too, obviously, but just all the guys that they have on defense, man. They have such great personnel. The guys up front, the linebackers, the secondary. They fly around. They know their scheme, inside and out, and they do a good job. Whether they want to play coverage or pressure or play man to man. They do a really good job in that. And we got our hands full this week, but we're, again, like I say all the time, man, we're really excited about this opportunity.
What's the balance like as a quarterback from respecting a really good defense and what they do well versus saying, hey, this is what we do as an offense and we want to do our stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you always have a game plan going into a game and understanding kind of what coverages they like to play and tendencies, all those things play into it. But at the end of the day, we're gonna run things that we know, that will not only be good for us, but hopefully work against them. So that's really the theme every single week, is just understanding what kind of defense we're playing against and what we do really well and how that can complement the game plan.
How do you assess your running game right now? I mean, you guys run it a lot, and they're committed to it. That the average per carry isn't super great statistically, but kind of how do you look at that overall? Just kind of where your run game is and what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, I think like anything else, we're just continuing to evolve as an offense. We're continuing to work on things. We're just gonna continue to work on it. Monday through Saturday, or I guess in this case, Tuesday through Sunday, and we'll be ready to roll by the time Monday night comes around. But we're always evolving as an offense and making sure that everyone's on point, whether it's the run game or the pass game.
Do you ever notice characteristics of the coach in the position that he might have played? Like D'Amico was a linebacker, and this is a defense that is best in play action defense. Like, do you see those things that happen in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, people talk about it all the time, like, head coaches and the teams kind of mirroring each other's personalities. I feel like, their defense, they fly around, they hit, they play really hard, they do all the things that, you're coached to do as a defense. And, again, like I said, it's really fun to be able to, turn on that tape and see that, understand that it is a really, really great opportunity for us to go out there and play against a really good defense and see what we can do.
You played them last year as well. Do you see similarities? Is there much changed from last year?
Yeah. I think they've changed a couple things. Obviously some personnel things have changed a little bit, but they got a lot of similar guys out there as well. So, and then some scheme things here and there, but they, like I said, they do what they do and they do it really well.
When you've got a guy like AJ, and last week that 61-yarder, I think that was the first time he was targeted in the game. Do you have to say anything to keep those guys in the game, or do they just know the ball could come to them at any time?
Not at all. I think we have such a great group in the locker room. All the skill position guys, tight ends, receivers, running backs. They all understand that it's their ball at any moment. I go through my reads. I do what I can to help this ball club. Move the ball down the field. At the end of the day, that is my job, and I try to find the open guy.
That play to AJ, it was a play action. You got the defense to bite on the fake. Do you feel like even as the run game numbers haven't been what you want, do you feel like it's still having an effect on, like, having something of the desired effect on defenses?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, defenses always have to respect our run game. That's, I think we've put really good stuff on tape. Just some of the little things that haven't necessarily gone well are all things that we can control. So, like I said, we're just going to continue to work on those things and get better.
When you're looking at game plan and film, do you ever take the other team's bye week into consideration? As in, the Texans are coming off their bye, so they could have done self-scout, they could have changed some things. Guys are healthier. Does that play in?
Yeah, I mean, you're always thinking about things like that. But at the end of the day, we got to go off of the tape that we see and the things that we see. Whether it's from this year or the 2024. So, even some coaches go back to 23 to see what they're doing. So, there's a lot of things that we look at, with this entire week that we've had to prepare. So, like I said, we're just excited. We're excited about this opportunity, and if they want to throw some wrinkles at us in this game, we'll be ready for it.
You guys had a couple of chances earlier in the season to close out games, and it didn't always go as you wanted. And this game against Jacksonville, there's a few chances where it wasn't going well.
Yep.
Defense gave you a chance, and you did close it out. Was that important for the offense?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's so many different ways to win games, as we're all seeing in the NFL. You know, it's I've seen it over the last seven and some change years. So it's crazy. This league is insane. Just the amount of different ways that you can win football games. I mean, we saw it last night, right, in Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Like, Aaron makes that incredible play, and then Joe leads his team down the field to, kick a game-winning field goal. And then still, even at the end of the game, Aaron throws a Hail Mary and still gets it to the end zone. So there's so many different ways to win in this league, and, we're just prepared for all those situations. I think, Coach McDonald does a really good job of, making sure that we're really prepared for situations that come up like that. And we're just going to continue to practice hard and do what we can to get ready for the game.
When you look back at the third downs against Jacksonville, what did you see?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, I think, I could do a better job of getting the ball out, understanding kind of different pressures and things, being able to find underneath guys that even though they're, in front of the chains, they'll be able to convert, moving the ball down the field. So, just little things we can tweak, here and there, but, at the end of the day, we just got to do our job. I gotta see what the defense is presenting to me, understand where my issues are, and try to get the ball out if they bring pressure.
When they do show maybe pressure, maybe not, when they show that, are you sorting a lot of stuff out pre-snap each time?
I mean, it depends what protection's called. You could also run it in certain situations. So there's a lot of different things that can come up on third down, but we'll be prepared for it.
What's it
Like
quarterbacks that get good enough at diagnosing blitzes and pressures that they kind of hunt those opportunities? Do you feel like you've gotten to that point yet?
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think I can do a lot better job of being able to, see that, especially when I look at that Jacksonville game. I felt like the one I got sacked on, I felt like I could have got the ball out on that one for a first down. So just learning and growing from those experiences. It's always nice to learn those lessons in a win, but we got to be a lot better in that area, and we will be.
What's it like as an opposing quarterback in an offense to have to deal with the noise at Lumen Field when it's really cranked up?
That's tough. It's tough, man. It's something, I remember last year coming here, when I was in Minnesota, I was under center, and, my O-line had a hard time, hearing me, even under center. For some reason that place just echoes. That's a huge shout out to our fans, man. The 12s do a great job of being able to make that place shake, and it's a really, really tough place to come and play, and you got to be on your silent count. You got to be on communication as an offense.
The drive where you threw the winning touchdown to Jefferson, I think a few plays before that, you're like covering your whole trying here. What do you remember about that drive and dealing with it on that drive in particular?
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think that play specifically, I remember my offensive, my center, I think, coming up to me after the play and, hey, we just heard the echo of your voice, and we snapped it. It was so tough to hear in that environment, and again, that's just credit to the 12s.
You mentioned last night's game. Aaron Rodgers threw like 70 yards on that last play.
Yeah.
How often do you guys practice? Do you practice plays like that very often, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're always walking through situations like that. You're not necessarily practicing Hail Marys all the time, but when we get an opportunity to be able to, walk through it in the indoor, we always, have those opportunities, especially on Saturdays. And then after practice, every now and then, I'll hit some long toss, make sure I'm always ready for that.
What's the furthest you've ever thrown a football?
Shoot, I don't know. We'll have to go back in the archives for that, but I don't know. I would guess probably like mid-60s, maybe touching 70. Not sure though.
Do you know, like your guys on offense, do you know, how much of their stories do you know, like their backgrounds?
On offense?
Yeah, just on offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because, there's so many guys, right? There's so many guys on offense, so many guys on defense. You try to get to know everybody. And it seems like a long time, but it's really not, to be able to really get to know people. I feel like our team here does a really great job of just trying to get together when they can. It's really hard for me personally, just because, I spend a lot of time throughout the week studying and doing my thing to try to nail this game plan. But, I know a lot of guys. I'm sure I don't know all of their stories, very in detail. But I know a lot of the guys personally, and, I feel like, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Do you see value in it when you do know more about a guy?
For sure. I think, the more you can know somebody, the more, I guess, chemistry there is that you have off the field. I feel like that's a direct correlation to, how you connect with somebody on the field as well.
Some teams excel at edge pressure. Some teams are better interior. As a quarterback, I mean, obviously you'd rather have no pressure, but is there one that's harder to deal with than the other?
It depends what's called, depending on, if we're in a 6-man protection, a 5-man protection, sometimes we're in a 7. So there's so many different factors to that question. I would love to maybe go in depth on that at some point, but yeah, there's a lot of different things that can kind of, trouble a protection, whether it's interior or exterior pressure.
Going back to knowing your guys, I think Jax had mentioned he's one of the guys who came down to LA. I think you guys were in. With the chemistry that you guys clearly have, is there value in that? Just like knowing him and his story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being able to know people, kind of like I said, it just I think personally it directs. There's such a correlation to how you know somebody off the field and how you connect on the field. I think it's a no-brainer. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Sam.